Right, let's now get the latest on the possible invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Prime Minister Boris Johnson says evidence suggests that Russia is planning the biggest war in Europe since 1945. And the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss has also warned that Vladimir Putin will keep waging war on neighbouring countries if he is allowed to invade Ukraine. International monitors have reported a dramatic increase in attacks, which has led to the death of 2 Ukrainian soldiers by shelling. So let's speak to Alexander Khrebet. He's an international news editor of ZN.UA in Kiev. And I'm also joined by Keir Giles, a senior consulting fellow at of the Russia and Eurasia programme at Chatham House. Alexander, thank you both of us for joining me. Alexander, let's start with you, though. We spoke to you last weekend and you were feeling relaxed and said that most people in Kiev were also feeling that way. Has the situation changed?
Hi, Nana. Yes, the situation since the last week changed, but people has more anxiety, of course, because of all of this that news war coming, like spreading all over the media, all over the TV channels, and the politicians and the Western politicians are saying all of those things. And for the last three days already, the huge escalation in Donbass, in the eastern part of Ukraine. So a lot of shells alongside all over the contact line, the front line. So when the people are scary sometimes, yeah, but they are here in Kiev, it's more calm for sure. But I'm talking to the local people who are living in those occupied territories in Donetsk and Luhansk. So they hear that shellings are so close to their neighborhoods. One guy I was talking to yesterday, he was saying that my whole building is shaking, but they still try to calm themselves and try to do not panic over there, especially because they're not allowed to leave the territory, and the Ukrainian military is saying we do not provoke, we do not fire and we just watch, and we only fire if it's threatened to our soldiers or to the civilians in the governmental control area.
So the shelling that you're hearing is definitely from the Russian side into Ukraine. Is that definitely the case? Yeah.
Yeah, we have it was a big case. Maybe you've been seeing this. So the 3 days ago, the pro-Russian militia, they fired at the kindergarten in Stanitsa Luhanska. It's just a few kilometers away from the front line. And the Russian telegram channels, Russian state TV, Russian state-owned media and agencies, they started to spread this kind of fake news that it's the Ukrainian army shelled the kindergarten in the occupied territories, and they say this is not we shelling, but Ukrainian police was really quick to release the video that while the Ukrainian policeman in Ukrainian uniform is evacuating the 30 children from the inside of the kindergarten and 14 staff members inside. So
something is definitely happening there. Keir, I want to ask you about the comment made by the UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss today. I mean, she says that Vladimir Putin will keep waging war on neighbouring countries if he's allowed to invade Ukraine. Would you agree that that's what's going to be happening?
Absolutely,
yeah, for sure,
because on the cards, and you need to look at the overall demands that Putin is making on the West, and remember that this is not all about Ukraine. Certainly, that's what's getting the most attention, because Ukraine is the lever that Russia is using with this threat of invasion. And as you heard from Alexander just now, people are already under artillery fire in those eastern provinces. But it doesn't stop there, because what Putin has demanded is a rolling back of NATO so that Russia can once again assert itself over the whole of Eastern Europe that used to be under Moscow's domination. And we've actually already seen that problem played out. Today we hear that the Russian troops that had moved to Belarus supposedly for an exercise, although Western powers say this is for part of the threatened invasion of Ukraine, are not going home. In other words, Russia has already moved forward into another country which directly borders Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, our NATO allies. So the move forward is already underway, and Ukraine is simply the front line at the moment.
I mean, doesn't this go back to when we, I think the European Union got Ukraine to drop their nuclear weapons and become disarmed, and we promised protection, which then made them very weak to a threat from Russia?
Well, a lot of people now are pointing the finger at that agreement where not just Ukraine, but other former Soviet republics decided they were better off without nuclear weapons and passed them back to Russia, which became the sole remaining nuclear power. And people are now saying, well, that actually means that they have no way of deterring aggression of this kind from Russia. And it's really interesting to compare and contrast the two ways that Ukraine and Belarus are going on this at the moment. Ukraine is left defenseless. Belarus is now talking about changes to its constitution so that it can have nuclear weapons back on its territory again, but Russian ones, because they are already under Russian control. And it's just another symptom of that Russian power moving forward to pose a more direct threat to NATO.
Wow. I mean, well, obviously we'll keep an eye on that, and thank you both for giving me your perspective on it. That's Alexander Khrebet. He's an international news editor, and also, of course, Keir Giles. Thank you so much for joining me.